We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I may not be a millionaire. I may not have a brand new Frigidaire. My clothes ain't all fancy, and my car ain't brand new. But there is joy in my house. I've got joy in
Welcome,
my
ladies and
house.
gentlemen, to Join My House. I'm joined here by my co-host Lolita Robinson,
Hello.
co-star.
Hey. Maybe you missed me a lot. Okay.
We did miss you.
Sounds good to be back.
Join My House is a inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. It's a radio show where nothing is left unsaid.
And no one who says it is insignificant. My accountability partner told me that it's grammatically not correct. So I got to make her happy, Kathy.
Well, welcome to the show. If you're just joining us out of service today, like me and Lolita, we just got out of service.
That's right.
We want to thank you for joining us here on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yay.
I know that there's a lot of parties going on and a lot of festivities out there, but want to thank you for joining us and being part of our joy in the house that we have right now as our audience and listeners. Now, if you're just listening to us and you want to view us, you can view us on your mobile devices on ustream.tv/join my house. That will allow you to stream us live. There's also an archive of our past shows on latalklive.com, and you can /join my house and you can watch all of our previous shows. And I just wanted to recap last week's show. Because of some scheduling arrangements on my part, Lolita was not able to join us on a couple of Monday shows.
That's right. It's been different, and I'd like to hear how that was for you. And
It went well, but I definitely missed you, and I know I spoken to you, and I said that I really needed you to be in this chair to help me do this.
I do.
Because this is a difficult spot to do alone. This is not something that, especially what our show concept is, as you as one of the concept creators has said, it's a community, and we need each other in order to provide this type of platform. No one person can do this. So we want to thank you, listeners and viewers, because we need you as well. And we would love to hear from you on joinmyhouse.com. You can go on our Facebook page, which is Facebook /Join My House, and engage with us. Send us tweets, comments. We're on Twitter as well, Twitter /Join My House as well, where you can come out and give us some of your questions or comments. Or you can call the studio live here. Our studio line is open. It's 323-247-7443. We've been getting a lot of callers call in, but they call at the end of the show.
Guys, come on. We want you to mix it up, makes it exciting. I'm glad they're calling. Cool.
Yeah, and we're getting quite a few, but I also think it's because they don't want to interrupt the flow of the show.
Okay,
But this show is not just it's not just about us or about our guests. It's also about you guys out there. Like you've said before, it's a community. We need all of us to participate and engage with one another in order for us to share the work that God has done in our lives.
Right.
So please feel free to engage with us through Facebook, through Twitter, or call the studio line once again at 323-247-7443.
So tell me, how was it with that dynamic pastor?
We had a Pastor Darwin Ward out of Triumph Church in Mission Viejo.
I've heard a lot about him.
He just planted the church, and he has had such amazing blessings. He grew up in Mississippi and was very influenced by gospel music.
Okay.
So if you didn't catch our show, you need to catch that recap. It is on latalklive.com, and you can go to Join My House and catch our last week's recap of Pastor Darwin from Mission Viejo's Triumph Church.
You said you got the chills when he spoke.
Oh, man. Especially when he sang. He had one of the deepest voices
wow.
that I have ever heard.
Okay.
And he is Caucasian. So
but he's got such a soul. See how God is, It's a beautiful, that's what we are in the kingdom. You cannot typecast us.
It is so true. It is so
That's
true.
Right.
He just has a CD out called Experience, and he talks about how he put this album together, and it was about having an experience. Let me tell you, him coming on, he was very charismatic, but very passionate, which was really amazing. So, if you're out there, check out some of our previous shows. Yeah. We've had such amazing guests.
Yeah, and today I'm excited. We're going to have an experience. Different. I mean, that's cool. I wasn't a part of it, but you know what? God did a lot during that time. I got to spend a lot of time with the Lord during that month, and I know that you were open with the audience and how God has dealt with you. So what
On
did you
a
learn
daily
during
basis.
that time? What
You
was it
know,
like for you during that time?
I think God is just keeps making me step up my game and
Okay.
be more accountable, more
Right.
faithful as He gives me more opportunity.
Mhm.
You always say, much to those who much is given, much is required.
Yes, it is.
And I kind of just said, oh yeah, that's true. So, but when it actually happens to you, it's like much is required of somebody.
But I think people take that to mean like work, but are you talking about like in your spiritual?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely spiritual.
Okay.
Definitely spiritual, because I have to be accountable and I have to surrender more and more
Mhm.
if I want more and more of God's blessing. Now, I'm pretty content
Mhm.
right now. So if I want to stay where I'm at, I think I'd just be just fine.
Mhm.
But I don't want to be content. I want to
Right.
be happy and I want to find the joy in my house.
Right.
And that's only going to come through my surrender to the Lord and my obedience. We had Pastor JT from our church, Bridges Church, come on and talk about being a believer and being a follower.
Right.
And I'm a believer. I believe in Christ. I believe He died for my sins on that cross. But to follow Him
And I'm
is
proud of you
every
because
day.
you became a part of the church, with our church.
Well-
You've been a part of Bridges now. You've been slowly stepping up and becoming a part of the community. Me too. I'm an individual. It's been hard for me to be a part of something. I go and hang out, but I stick to the back. But the Lord is, like you said, is making me accountable to be a part of a body and part of a community. Like with Van is a part of our family here. We're all making this happen. So I think
But
God's
it's-
dealing with all of us.
But God has placed, we talk about it. God has placed the right people in my life to guide me too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Especially you've been at the forefront of my recovery and giving my life to Christ. I tell the story how we met and how I gave my life to Christ because of you in your car, because I was going through some troubles and some struggles. And still till this day, you're still guiding me. You tell me, join Celebrate. It'd be good for you. It's foundation of my recovery now. You tell me, go to this church.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Life Church, where we started off, where I first started going to
beautiful. It's still beautiful. Just
church.
different
You led
needs.
me to that church,
Yeah.
and I had my needs fulfilled at that time.
Right.
And now I think God, through you, is telling me, all right, now some other needs have to be met.
Right.
And now I want you to step out in faith. So
And the timing is perfect. I mean, it's perfect
so
that because we
appropriate.
can go to church at 9 and we're out enough time to get here. And so God is just using all these things.
And I can't imagine, and I talked about it with our guest, Pastor James Cho, who's going to come on, who has a great
wow.
message.
Yes, he does.
But we talked about having coffee when we were outlining today's show,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about that stepping out in faith and being obedient.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult, and it's a struggle for me as a Christian, and especially as a new Christian, to step out and put one foot in front of the other. But you've always told me, like they say in program, suit up and show up.
And God's faithful. And plus, he's been, doing a lot of purging. I've been going through a lot of things. God has really been showing me that there's still areas that I have not been trusting him in. And financially, it's been like, whoa, the jobs have stopped and it's been quiet. And it's so easy to get in my flesh and so easy to want to take things into my hands and to operate. But God has been showing me no. So I can't wait to hear what Pastor has to share today. Because you talk about trust in the Lord.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in my house, and I want to thank you again for joining us on Super Bowl Sunday.
And those two brothers, my gosh, the two brothers now I'm not a sports fan, but Van can tell us they're brothers of both teams, right? They're biological brothers. The coaches.
They are the coaches. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, they are brothers. They are of the Falcons and of the. I don't know, but I'm
Not
excited.
the Falcons, but
The Ravens.
The
The Ravens.
Ravens and the Niners, the 49ers.
Okay, but I'm excited. It's biological brothers who are the coaches. They are competing with one another. So I've got to just stick it there
Sibling
and
rivalry.
see. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Well, we're going to touch a little bit on Super Bowl II. I think Pastor has a great message for us today. Pastor James Cho out of New Life Oasis Church.
Yep.
We want to thank you guys again for joining us and being a part of our Joy in Our House.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, pay some bills, and you're not going to want to miss. Join us right back here on Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
How can I forget you? Where did the sweetness go, Lord? Have I fallen from your hand? Am I so far from
Young Connection, your one-stop connection for all your graphic design and commercial printing needs. Young Connection is a full-service printing and media design company dedicated to providing the highest level of customer service and satisfaction. Young Connection provides swift response and rapid turnaround services for banners, brochures, business cards, letterheads, church bulletins, funeral programs, flyers, logo design, posters, and much, much more, all at an affordable price. Young Connection, the official printing company of LA Talk Live. Give them a call at 310-491-3336. That's 310-491-3336, or visit their website at www.youngconnection.com. That's www.youngconnection.com. Young Connection Printing and Media Services, proud sponsors of LA Talk Live, where it's more than just talk. Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the Paradise Island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
Welcome back to Join My House, ladies and gentlemen, an inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid,
And no one who says it is insignificant.
I'm joined here by my co-host and my co-star, Lolita
Yay,
Robinson.
I love it. They're
Welcome
great to be here.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're also joined here by a good friend of mine and pastor out of New Oasis Church, Pastor James Cho. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
Pastor.
you.
We're so
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
Good to be here.
Yay. And Jen is here, and Zoo, which is his worship leader, and his lovely wife, who's part of their church, and we want to say hello to them too.
We
Just
definitely
to
do.
clarify, it's not my wife. It's Zoo's
I know,
lovely wife.
I know. Uni is your wife, right?
Yes, Uni's
hello,
my wife, yeah.
Uni. Have fun at that Super Bowl party.
Which you'll be joining soon.
Yes.
Well, I always like to kind of tell a story of how we met,
Mhm.
how our guests met, and how you got to be able to come on the show. James Cho, Pastor James Cho, is actually one of my black belts from an academy that I was managing in Fullerton, California.
Yes.
Yes, and he trained quite a bit of time with us. At that location in Fullerton.
Yes,
and your
at least
son.
a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
exciting. That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot
so-
about that.
So we already know off the bat that he's very dedicated. His son
Mhm.
was also part of my program.
Yes.
He was one of my students,
Mhm.
and he trained for again a couple of years and got up to about blue belt.
Yes.
Off and on towards the end, because I know that there's always life that happens. But you guys were so committed to our academy. You were so faithful. I know that not only as a student, but also as a facilitator there, you gave quite a bit, even to one of my instructors, who you actually really took under your wing, which was a younger instructor, Kim.
Yeah. I just his faithfulness just stood out. So I was like, wow, God, what do you want me to do? Just how do you want me to share with his life? And it was really just in calling him a couple months ago to see where he's at and saying that he's still faithful.
Yeah.
That's really encouraging.
Is he a part of your church? You
He's
feel
not
like-
part of my church,
Okay.
but just when you just see a young man who's struggling and
Mm-hmm.
who's trying to do his best, trying to support his family and trying to get off the ground, and life happens.
Right.
And so just to give him a leg up, that was just really
Well,
encouraging.
you were really faithful and instrumental in helping him out. I didn't know until after I spoke to him after I had left the academy. He had left the academy. We reunited and had some coffee, and he started telling me how you really assisted him, not only as a mentor but also financially, and how you contributed. And nobody ever knew about that. Nobody ever. So I just want to personally thank you,
That's awesome.
because I think it's important for you to be acknowledged and recognized, because a lot of times those things are left unsaid and everybody always points out the negative, and then the positive is always kind of swept under the rug, and I don't want to ever be that person that doesn't point out the positive. So I want to thank you, James, Pastor Cho. I want to call you Pastor Cho, just for your faithfulness and even coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. I just excited to be on here. Just sort of unique experience for me as well.
I bet. I want you guys to get involved in this, but I want to see eventually how a pastor decided to take martial arts, but we'll get to that a little later, because I know you have a lot to cover.
Let's talk about
how did that
your
happen?
family of origin. Let's talk about that. Where'd you grow up, and what made you want to become a pastor first of all, and then we'll go right into the why you
Actually,
wanted to
oh
train.
wow, that's a different question. Well, my dad was a pastor in Oakland, California, for 35 years.
Wow.
But because of that, I did not want to be a pastor.
Okay, now we're getting to the meat. Really? You saw it as why? How come?
Why? Just struggles, financial struggles, family struggles, not being able to have vacations and all. Just seeing how committed he was.
Right.
And just sort of like, I think I had a lot of anger issues back then. And so I said, no, God, I will follow you, but I want to do my own thing first.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And you did do your own thing. What high school did you go to?
I went to Skyline High School in Northern California. Then I went to UCLA. Actually, we'll talk about this later, but let me prep this in this way. When I was 17, I made a promise to God.
That's a good one right there.
And
what
it was
that promise?
my freshman year in college. My promise was, okay, God, I'll do my own thing, because we were so poor. I mean, we were
So your father really dedicated what ministry was about. It wasn't about money. It was
definitely
about
not.
passion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so the story I tell is, my mom went to JCPenney's, bought Levi's jeans. She bought like 8 pairs. And I wore that through high school.
Wow.
I'm through college,
Wow.
all the way through college. So it was like, that's how poor we were,
Okay. But I appreciate your honesty.
So it's like, you
Makes
go
me
through
respect
that.
you.
So
Uh-huh.
the promise I had to God was, okay, God, when I turn 40, that's when I'll follow you. Not that I'm not going to not be a Christian, but that's when I'm going to really follow you.
But you have your life, so you leave me alone till I'm 40. Is that what you told
Yeah,
him?
exactly. So
I know I don't believe he held to that, but okay, let's see.
I had 3 premises, three conditions.
Boy, you had it all planned out.
Yeah. Well, I was just sitting in this meeting. I was like, God, okay, I really want to follow you, but I have to
hear
be
you.
real. This is my struggle. And so first thing was, I want to be a millionaire.
Okay.
So you had a list.
Yeah. Number 2 is I'll become a missionary at 40 once I made my first million. Okay. And the third thing was I would not go to Africa.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
This is so interesting.
Later
This
on,
is
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
What made you?
You're the example of, we fax God our plans and ask him to sign
true.
it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you started off going to UCLA.
Yes.
Now, did you finish your bachelor's there, or
Yes.
when so you finished your bachelor's at UCLA?
In what?
In civil engineering.
Oh,
Civil engineering.
okay.
What made you want to go to Biola?
Oh my goodness. Okay. After I went to UCLA, the job market for civil engineers was impacted. So I ended up working at Union Pacific Railroad for about 3 years.
And how'd the $1 million deal go?
It didn't go too well. Didn't quite do it. But I was working like 70, 80 hours a week.
Wow.
So I mean, I was
You
was
were
like
putting in the time.
You were putting in that time.
Yeah.
You were going for the gusto.
going for the gusto.
Okay.
When you're working 17, 18-hour days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know,
So you were okay.
Yeah.
You were focused.
I was focused at that point.
Okay.
And at that point, it was really cool because, after 12 hours, it's double time.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
So yeah, you're just like, okay, let's see how much money I can make.
Let's see if you can get to that million.
yeah. But actually, it was the day after, I forgot which holiday. I think it was Thanksgiving. I was on the ramp. The best thing is being at a ramp for a railroad, because the day after Thanksgiving, no one's there.
Okay.
But railroad doesn't shut down. Especially in my position, I was a ramp supervisor, and I was just driving around the ramp, and then God was just speaking to me, and He's saying, "James, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life?"
Just a rat race, talking to the people who want to be on this rat race to make this money, but what was it costing you?
Yeah, exactly. And He goes, at the end of life, what do you want to do? You want to be a millionaire, or do you have $1 million in people relationships, investing in people? And I said, oh, wait, I can't take money with me. It's people. So that was a process where I began saying, okay, God, okay, well, I want to do something for you more actively.
How old were you at this point?
24, 25.
Oh, you didn't even make it. You said 40. I mean, you didn't even make it.
I didn't make 24,
God,
but actually, you have to say it does hit 40. The 40
Okay.
does come playing. all the factors come back into play, but it's really funny. God is funny.
He has a sense of humor.
He
I
has
was laughing. You didn't even make it.
Yeah. But at 25, I decided, okay, so I went to Korea, lived there a few years, taught English, made decent money there teaching English. And then at that point, I wanted to go back to seminary. God said, okay, I remember this one day walking down the street in Korea, and God just put this burn on my heart. So every person I was looking, this is a busy, going downtown, and walking,
In Korea.
and I'm just like, God, just give me a face and I'll pray for that person. So I'm just walking down and just praying. And at that point, that God said, okay, James, I want you to commit to more than just being a Christian. I want you to do something more.
Wow.
And it's at that point where I said, okay, I want to become not pastor. I want to be a missionary.
What?
That's why I said,
So
okay.
he started melting your heart when you got to Korea.
Yeah.
But it was happening already, right? When he was with the railroad.
So it's a long process, but it's slow little things here and there. But at that point, it was like, okay, God, you have to make a choice, James. Do you want to just say you're a Christian, or do you really want to follow me?
Wow.
How can you call yourself a Christian if you're not willing to follow me? And at that point, I said, okay, God, I'll follow you. And then at that point, I chose a seminary, and I was waffling between a Korean seminary and one in the U.S. I ended up deciding one here in the U.S. And since I went to UCLA and Biola was, Talbot's here in Southern California, and I knew people from there, I said, okay, let's go there. I know different ones, but I knew the people.
Now,
who
how did that feel when you look back at your earlier age when you were saying, my father was a pastor.
Right, I was going
I don't want to do anything that goes in that direction. I'll be a Christian, but a pastor or like you said, a missionary that's going to sacrifice everything that my father sacrificed.
And where was your father in this? That's why was your father, was your
Supportive.
relationship close with him during this time, or what?
During high school, not, or college, it wasn't. It was. He's a traditional Asian dad. He doesn't talk much, doesn't do much. But I think what really brought a lot of healing was when God forgave me for my sins, and my father forgave me for my sins, and then beyond that, just listening to him and listening to his story, and then God restoring my relationship with him. Although we never really talked a lot, he talked to me. He's still a dad.
Right.
But God was still working in my heart, and I remember the most important part of that and restoration between my relationship with my dad was, I remember one time I came back and he was preaching, and they asked me to translate. So he was on the main
you're
pulpit.
kidding.
Wow.
So he was on the main pulpit preaching, and I was on the side pulpit preaching translating in English.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
and I still remember that moment, because it's like, oh, God, you are healing me. Even though I'm preaching, you're healing me right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was
and your
God
dad
talking to your
working
heart.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
yeah.
awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah,
That
but the struggle didn't end there, but it continued on, because there's still a lot of anger,
There's a lot of
deep-seated anger,
resentment, right?
and ended up, even when I was a pastor, turning toward God and being angry at God, even being a pastor.
Did you think God was too rigid because of your father, or the anger was just that? What was the anger? Just
It wasn't overt. It was something deep seated because I knew God in my head, but I couldn't feel in my heart because I couldn't talk with my dad. I was, because you can't talk with your
different
dad.
generation too.
And God was healing me and moving me beyond just intellectual knowledge of Christianity, but to God is a God of your heart. He loves, and that. I was actually at this church. I was struggling, and the head pastor asked me to preach on Mother's Day.
Wow, how touchy-feely is that?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And
wow.
as I was struggling through
That's
preparation,
Yeah.
and then what I realized was that God is not just a dad; He's a mom. Even though in the Bible it doesn't say that, there's a lot of motherly verses that show His feminine aspects. And at that moment, God just healed me. He just like, oh, James. And after I preached it, and all these people would come up, and I'm like, I didn't think this was a great message, but I'm sort of worried because I'm theologically, is this right? Oh my goodness, this is people don't normally preach like this, especially in the Korean church. No one preaches like
No,
this.
because that's a lot of feeling. You had to really get into another side of the Lord, like you were saying.
Yeah,
That's almost the intellectual side.
I still came from an intellectual angle because I'm a guy,
Right.
But then through that process and subsequent to that, there was a lot of healing, and that's where I really learned how to move deeper, and still am learning how to continually go deeper. Like you're talking earlier, just how do you each day follow God?
Because we were talking about that when we were having coffee. What is it that God is asking you to do? He's asking you to do one thing and stepping out in faith, and somebody else's 100 can be somebody else's 1%. And you said that during the outline while we were sitting having coffee, and it made an impact on me. My 1% couldn't be somebody else's 100% because it's in God's eyes, not in our own eyes, which I think is important to say, because you going to seminary, going to Biola University
to become a pastor.
Yes,
the missionary.
I wanted to. I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I knew that I needed to go to seminary. I wanted to serve God, and I needed training. And being Korean, they think, okay, you need an MDiv, Master's of Divinity. So what do I need? I need to go to seminary.
Why being Korean?
Well, in the Asian tradition, it's academics is everything. So you need to have degree.
So from the Korean standpoint, not necessarily from Biola's standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue talking about that. So you're at Biola, and you're going there, and you're getting your
Master's in Divinity.
MD, Master's in Divinity. How was that process? Was that a struggle? Was that something that came easy to you?
No, I think Lolita was talking about God is still purging.
Yep.
It's realizing, it is not a one-time, it's a lifelong process of purging. And it's not like, I struggled with this 10 years ago and I don't struggle with it now, but more like, what, I struggled really bad back then. I still struggle with it, but then really saying, what, okay, God, you're still working in my heart. How to get over anger, how to get over just your thought life, and just all those things, and just, okay, how do you push deeper and saying, God, just more than me doing it now, just say, okay, God, I'm just going to open my hands and let you take it from my hands.
And I would imagine the Lord used your professors to do so. I've never had the experience to go through seminary, but I know in going to some courses, you're accountable to people and they see things. So were the instructors calling you out on different things?
Not really, because by that time, more than not all the instructors, but I had a couple.
And those
that
are the
were
ones that God places. Those are the ones that God places.
And
like you were saying that, yeah.
What I realized was it's not a calling out; it's coming with.
Wow,
that's good.
Mentoring, but it's coming with support. So you felt supported. They walked alongside you.
Yes, and it's not like, okay, a lot of times they could say, okay, you know what, hey, you're doing this wrong, but no, it's sort of like, James, you're doing a good job. Just keep listening, and just listening to my stories, and then coming alongside and continually walking next to me. And I think that's what I needed, because I think as sons, sometimes you think of dad as like, oh, here's this angry dad. He's gonna come slap you upside
Every
your
time
head.
you make a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you have
Okay,
that?
now-
Did you kind of have that feeling with your
I
father?
didn't have that with my father, but I had that with my Korean master, which was one of my mentors and
Ah.
very.
Sue was cracking up.
My
Jenna
Korean master
cracking
was
up.
like that, very
Okay.
much so, which was like my oppa, my Korean father.
That's
know?
awesome. I'm
So
learning
that's
a
how
lot
I relate a lot to him, because my father was a little different, but it seemed like I'm hard-headed when it comes to things that are good for me. So I went with my Korean master, who was very rigid, and we talk about certain people that even are leaders that I gravitate towards that structure. But you get to a point, like you said, now where people are walking alongside you,
Yeah.
not always
Not so much dictatorial.
exactly.
But God uses both. He used structure and
I
he
needed
uses
that.
the
Oh yeah,
compassion.
Yes.
I needed that
The
structure.
mother and father that you talked about,
Yes.
aspects of God. How crazy making. It must have been really kind of a disorienting time for you.
Yeah, and but looking back now, I've developed some really good friends though.
Oh gosh.
You know, it's like,
and some
oh,
insight.
yeah, I was like, wow, Lord, even now when I struggle with my marriage, just being able to go to a brother and just pray and cry, and seeing someone.
That support.
That's
is,
accountability he's talking about.
Yeah, that support and accountability is what we need for one another. And I mean, our churches right now, that's their thing. Community right now, they're talking the body of Christ, and how we need to support one another. And you mentioned when we were having coffee again about maybe telling a sin to one another, confessing, and that is the accountability
Yes.
and support that I think we sometimes lack, because we don't have that faith, because we don't believe that God will not condemn us. Because I was raised by my Korean master during my adolescence that I'm gonna get whipped.
Yeah,
Go grab that chukdong, bring it back over here, because you're gonna, that was my life.
Yeah.
So to have that support, and especially from a Christian brother, how supportive that must feel, because it got you to where you are now.
Yep.
From what it sounds like.
And it looks like, God is awesome, because our parents can't do it. All of us are parents now. And I know I can't meet all the needs of my sons. And my husband, before he passed away, he couldn't either. But God sends people to kind of build those places where your dad wasn't able to go.
Yes.
Do you find that too
That's
with the men that are in your life?
So on
See, women
point.
are in mine.
See, men are starting to come in mind.
Right.
Like Paul, one of
Yes.
the gentlemen that sits on the board
Right.
and is a great minister. Larry Lorenzo, who really ministered to me when I was going through some tough times where I had nothing going, and we would just sit down and he'd take me to lunch and we would just talk.
Yeah.
Those are the people that have come on to supplement some of the things that my father or my friends or couldn't give me.
Do you feel that, Pastor?
Yes, definitely. My dad passed away a few years back, but through that whole process, and I think God really showing me, okay, my he was a horrible dad. I can say that without anger.
Okay.
But
did he know any different though?
he didn't know any different. See,
Okay.
see that
Probably from where he came. Maybe God's
Exactly.
giving you more insight, but still you had to admit that though.
Exactly. He was a horrible dad, but then he tried his best, and it got to the point where you actually see his love through some of the hardness. You go, oh, you're trying.
That's him trying, and that's him showing you
That's
his
what he
love.
did. He
Yeah.
gave you more than you realized.
Yes. And when you're a kid, you don't see that.
You don't see it.
You
You don't
only
see
see,
it.
oh my goodness, my dad can't do. Why can't he be like that dad? Well,
Exactly.
he's not like the TV dad. He's not like the Leave It to Beaver dad.
No, he's not. No, he's not. It's interesting
Well,
because
I wanted to just kind of continue.
Yeah.
So you're at Biola. You graduated seminary school, and you continue to submit. I know that you're vice chairman to the organization by Grace Trust Organization for Kenya.
Yes.
Now this was what you were talking about, not wanting to go to Africa.
Yeah.
Then you become part of this organization. Tell us about this organization, how you became a part of it.
Yeah, and then what did
Okay.
you graduate from?
Okay.
When you came out, what did you have your degree? You were a pastor then?
Well, I was serving as a youth pastor.
Okay, good.
But basically, after I graduated from Biola with my MDiv, Master's Divinity, I ended up working there. That's when I got married. And my wife said, hey, you can't live off $1,000. You need to show a little bit more than that.
Okay, she's the $1 million mama.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we just kidding.
But at that point, so I said, okay. So I started working, and God provided this job at Biola.
Oh, cool.
That fit in my personality perfectly. and I worked there for 9 years.
What
in
were you
two
doing?
different.
Were you teaching?
One was I was an admissions counselor
Oh.
for graduate admissions for School of Intercultural Studies at Biola University,
Mm-hmm.
and for all the international students. I was in charge of all international students at Biola University, all the graduate ones. It was about 400. So it was
Jeez, that's quite a bit.
I think 400 something. It was maybe 100 or 200. I forgot
So
exactly.
you're getting used to different cultures.
Yes.
Wow,
But then
not
what I saw was God was putting people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
relationships, and then I moved from that position to actually the School of Intercultural Studies, and then working with missionaries. So it goes back full circle,
Exactly.
full circle about
okay.
working with missionaries. And then I was in charge of this extension program. We had extension in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and in right now Kiev, Ukraine. And they come to the U.S. A couple times a year. And at one time, a missionary from Kenya, who I had developed this relationship with,
Oh, that's hilarious.
and needed a place to stay. And I said, okay, I asked my wife, honey, I know we don't like people in our house, but hey, we tried this a couple times. Turned out pretty well. Can she stay? And she goes, okay, she stayed. But when she came, it was really funny because,
So this was a woman from Kenya?
yes, a woman from Kenya.
Okay.
And when I first mentioned to her, I didn't mention to her ethnicity. But I said Kenya. So she's thinking an African lady, right?
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
And that's yeah, you're thinking African. So she thought African, but all of a sudden this older Korean lady comes.
Wow. Look at both of us are like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah. So she
Kenya,
comes and she stays, and
okay.
she's probably in her 50s or
Oh, that makes me
60s. So she's an older Korean lady. So she was like, oh, this is a unique surprise, And she thought it should be a young lady, but it's actually a much older lady.
Matured woman. The Lord he just sent the best.
Yeah.
Seasoned skill to just pull you on in.
And she'd
That's
been
right.
in Kenya for 30 years, over 30 years.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening, my sister was here from the East Coast. She lives in Washington, D.C. And she came, and we ended up having these late night conversations, like 2 or 3 nights. And at the end of them, my sister says, James, we need to do something as a family. We're going to go to Kenya.
Oh my
And the one place that you said, just don't send me to.
Don't send me
That-
to
Don't send me to Africa. And I'm like, I'm a pastor. I can't miss Sundays,
So you were a pastor at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, because, all right, I'm kind of,
Well, I've been a pastor for probably over 15 years.
okay, because I was still at the administrative.
Yeah, yeah,
Biola,
Scoot up to the mic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was still at the administration at Biola. Yeah, I got so comfortable.
But this show brings out, I think this show brings out the transparency of people.
Yes.
It really does. So for you to now have a woman from Kenya speaking to your heart through your sister and through this young lady to go to Africa, and as a family, not even just you on your own, as a family, talking to your heart about going to Africa, and then you having these doubts, because we talked about these, having these doubts. Well, you're pastoring right now. You can't.
I can't take time off. And if I'm sort of like my dad in the sense that I don't like to take Sundays off.
Okay, so now see, look at this. Boy, I tell
Yeah,
you, God
that's
just,
that's what God did a lot of healing. Where you go,
Yes.
this
You
is me.
understood
Yeah,
him. You understood what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what made it more amazing, the only person who could take me out of that would be my sister. It was like, James, we're going to go.
Okay, so
we're
God
going
just
now.
told her.
No one else, not even my wife. It'd be like, honey, no, I'm focused, church.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister's, my older sister, so she's like, I don't care, we're going to go. And I'm like,
God really placed her and used her then.
Yes.
God really placed. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, I have here, on my notes, your first mission trips when you made that promise to God that you would be a missionary. You said when you were 40, he got you a little sooner than that, but
That's
you
what
did
I
make
said.
that promise.
yes, but I didn't go, I wasn't thinking mission. I've gone on short-term trips, but not really being engaged. You've done the 1-2 week trip, and you're like, oh, beautiful. You come back, oh God, you're so great. But then you're not really engaged with the location.
Well, as you're talking about that, before, if you can turn it around, when did you become a pastor?
Okay.
From that time when you were administrative at Biola for 9 years.
Throughout the whole process, I was a pastor. When I was in seminary, I started pastoring. And
Youth pastor.
yes.
Okay.
And I had not given that up.
Okay.
So I
I'm
was
just trying to keep it,
yes, yes.
so the audience can follow.
Okay, sorry, audience.
No, that's
well,
okay. That's
yeah.
what I do. I'm such a compulsive control freak.
Well, no, just try to organize things. Okay, how does this fit with that over there?
You know how women are. We just kind of like it's the details. So okay, good. Okay, I got it. Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
But let's talk about. I know that when we were speaking, you were saying, the first time you went there, you kind of just went there to listen.
Yeah.
Then you go back because you've done quite a few of these. The second time you went back and you started doing stuff. You started cooperating. But by the third time you started teaching. And by the fourth time I have here that you were put in charge.
Well, actually, it's the third time. It was the third time, but it was just the whole process was amazing. The first time I went with my sister, it was like, okay, her church was in charge, and my church was doing their mission trips to Nicaragua.
That's right. That's what you were saying.
And
you didn't want to.
I didn't want to hinder the church's direction because that's not my goal.
Right.
I don't go into a church to change.
And I wanted to mention that you're still very faithful to your church, even though you on your own are contributing. You're still very respectful.
Yes.
And I think that's
and you
important.
wanted to keep focused.
Yeah, I didn't want to
get sidetracked.
I didn't want to take them off of their goals because I they were 4 years in Nicaragua. And I was like, okay, I want to bless that, and I don't want to change that. But God, you've placed this on my heart, so okay, let's move to Kenya. So the first year, I just went as an observer. I did a little bit of teaching, but I team taught with my brother-in-law, who's a seminary. He was a professor. Well, he teaches class in seminary, even point where he was asked to do higher level things at the seminary. So, and PhD in church history. So I'm like, philosophy of Christianity or something like that. But so I'm like, I'm on his coattails. I'm on his coattails. And I was like, okay, God, thank you for that. And so I did my preparation, but I think that's where God started teaching me deeper stuff of who he is.
And what he was really calling you to.
Yes. And so I did that the first year, but it's all his church. And I would just, since I'm not in charge, okay, that's fine. And the second year I said, okay, I brought one person from my church. But his church was still in charge. But the third year they go, James, I think you should be in charge next year.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's incredible.
And
were you like, what?
I was like, no.
Now your arms are too short. They say box with God. Now.
Yeah, I was like, oh my.
You're in Kenya, so now come on.
and it was a difficult process because while we were praying in Kenya, I received a word of prophecy, and the prophecy said, James, you're gonna have your feet. They had a picture of me like a giant over the globe. And that there's two places where my feet were, and one foot was in California, and one foot was in Africa.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay,
oh my goodness.
I could step out in faith on that word, or I could just sort of
poo-poo it.
Dismiss it. Yeah.
And it was a process of poo-pooing and stepping out at the same time. I'm not gonna say it's like, ooh, I stepped out in faith. No, that's not. No. It's like, dude, this is way over my head.
But we always talk about a process, and it is a process. Yeah. It's got to be one foot in front of the other.
This is more of a process. I mean, God is just showing me that he is in control. I mean, he is the man. I mean, it sounds trite, but everything that you said, you weren't.
Oh, no. And then
you did it and then some.
It was beautiful because at that point, even Jennifer over there's people that came around me and that said, okay, James, you've gone for 2 years. We would like to join you.
Her and Zoo?
Both they can't because they have kids.
Okay,
so just they there's three of them. Her mother, Zoo, and Jennifer, and they take turns. They take turns. So it was Jennifer's turn, and so she said, "Okay, I want to go with you to Africa." But she works for AT&T, so she can go for the whole trip. She can only go for half the trip.
Well, you're gonna have to. I don't know if you're gonna.
We're actually not gonna take an intermission. This is too good right now.
You're gonna bring the song in.
So I want to talk about your latest trip.
Yeah.
Your trip to Thailand. Because I think this is a very interesting trip. Well, we talk about your trip to Thailand and acknowledging the doubts. You were saying that you were doubtful. How were you supposed to get all these people and have the finances to do it?
Well, actually, that was Kenya. So Thailand was a little bit. So that was my last trip to Kenya.
Yeah, we're still in Kenya.
Oh yeah. Let's go back to Kenya because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let's what happened was with her trip. halfway through the trip, I was doubting myself because normally I'm a control freak too.
Okay,
So it's like,
thank
okay, it's a
you.
2-week
Sure
trip.
you, don't lie.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
It's a 2-week trip. So if we're leaving on the first day, everyone has to go the first day and everyone has to leave the last day. And then no one's left behind, and everyone's going. And I need to be with them through the whole process. Okay, but then Jennifer could go only half the time, and then we had another gal who went with the trip who was a late add-on who ended up having visa issues.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. So
she didn't show up till later.
She didn't. She missed the whole first week. She was supposed to go with us the first week, but then she at that point she just became a U.S. citizen, but then you can't get the passport right when you're so she had to do things overnight, and you can't.
It's a process, but
it's a process. But fortunately, she was able to make it. But then it was a week late. I'm like, and everyone at church is like, James, do you know what you're doing? I'm like, I don't know, but you know what? God opened the door, so I'm just gonna run through that.
What he tells you to do, he's gonna have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. If no one else got, because you have to understand, at that point it took like 2 months to get the paperwork to get your passport,
right.
And her mom who applied like 3 months before her didn't get it, but she got it.
But she got it. So God wanted her
to go first.
God wanted her to go.
What was the purpose of her being? And then
no real purpose.
Okay.
The whole thing there it was like, okay, I think God wants you to go. Why don't you join? And she was praying. She goes, I think God wants me to be there. Because I thought she was going to go to Nicaragua because she speaks Spanish, and she speaks a little Spanish, but she's from South America, Korean South American. But then so I was like, okay, let her go that way. But she prayed and she goes, I think Africa. I'm like, that was surprising. And that whole process, how she got there. But then through that whole process, I was like, oh God, well, this is you, not me. I'll follow you. Even though I want to control it, I'm going to let this go. And then this is where it goes to the fun story. This is where the fun story. Okay.
This is the interesting thing. So you're there a week.
Okay.
Tell us what happened.
Okay. After the first week, we went to a slum area and we ran VBS, and then we had a couple days off. And then
tell people what VBS is so that some of our audience doesn't know.
It's Vacation Bible School, where we teach young kids about the Bible and how to follow God.
So these were the Kenyan children.
Kenyan children, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And between the first and second, we had a couple of days off to prepare for the second week. So we visit our local missionary there, and then the whole trip, it didn't seem quite right, but at the last minute, as we're about to pull up to our hotel, I was sort of dozing off in the back. All of a sudden, I see 3 or 4 guys with guns.
Yikes.
And all I hear is, get in the back, and they're throwing everyone in the back.
Now, was Jen with you at this point?
No, Jen wasn't.
She wasn't with you. It was the other lady.
It was.
Well,
she wasn't there either. She wasn't there.
She's having visa trouble.
She has visa trouble.
God. Oh man.
So these guys put you in the back of the car.
Just you.
No. It was a group. There was the remaining group, because the group was about 8 of us.
Okay.
So 2 of us, they came late. So 6 of us are there, and they're throwing us in the back of the van and going down this back road in Kenya, like
with guns,
pitch black, and I'm like flying over a dirt road.
Yeah. So you're scared.
We're gonna have this.
I mean,
I was scared. And at that point, I did have I was a black belt, and I had a pocket knife on me. But I'm like,
okay.
James, you learn you don't want to be in trouble.
Right. You don't want to aggravate the situation.
Exactly.
You want it to calm down, diffuse it, and let's kind of get on.
Oh.
So you're scared here. You're in the back of the van. Tell us what you do.
Okay. I was just sitting there like, God, I don't mind if I get hurt, something happens to me. But my son and my wife were there, and I had
they
4.
Were with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
so this is an experience.
My stars. Your son and your wife.
My son and my wife, and I had 4 ladies and 1 young man.
Oh.
So you're thinking
you got
the worst.
I'm thinking the worst. I just pray. I'm like, first I was like, God, okay, God, you could do anything to me. Okay. Well, is this if this is the way I'm going to die? This is the way I'll die. Oh. But I was sitting there. I'm like, oh Lord, what do I do? But I said, don't aggravate the situation. So I took the pocket knife. I'm like, pitch black so they can't see. I'm like, okay, here. threw it away from me. So okay, I could do my taekwondo, but I'm not gonna show that I'm trying to fight them.
Right, right.
But then in the middle of that, God is saying, hey, James, you know what? He gave me a vision of Paul and Silas in prison. And I was okay. Let's sing and pray. So at that moment, I was like, okay, I don't know what to do, but let's sing and pray.
And we're gonna play the song.
Yes.
And so
So
Zoo is getting ready to.
this is a song that you sang while
Yes.
you were in the back of the bus.
This is one of the
Kidnapped.
songs. Yes, yes.
But from the kids, for the kids, you were singing this.
This is a VBS we prepared for the kids, but then we learn as we're singing it.
Let's listen to this, because this is definitely empowering.
Sometimes when I'm scared, I want to run and hide. But then I remember you are always by my side. Jesus, you are my best friend. I can put my trust in you. Your love for me will never end. You will always see me through. When I am afraid, I will trust in you. You are all I need. I can run to you. I will
Yeah.
trust.
Wow,
Oh
James.
wow, that's bringing
Yeah.
tears to my eyes,
Wow.
and that's what was going through your mind. You guys started singing that.
We were singing King Jesus All, and then we sang that song because that was our VBS song for that year. So we just
Oh.
sang that just with the kids
Oh,
to teach
wow.
them, and we're thinking about them in their struggles in the inner city in their slum area. But then God just made that real in our lives, and then after that we sang and prayed, and I think the kidnappers were like, dude, this is weird. And then my wife was okay, and we're all singing and praying. Then finally, my wife goes because the kidnapper ended up hijacking the car, so he was in the driver's seat. So she puts her hands on him and prays for him.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, I've never met anyone who has been this close to martyrdom. I've never had this. This is really
How faithful
something.
God is, and what confirmation.
She
But then-
prayed for him. What did he do? Was he offended by it or what?
Actually, the good thing about it was as she prayed, he looked at it and goes, "Mama, don't worry, you'll be safe. You'll have the car."
Wow.
Wow.
We didn't hear that in the back, but later my wife told me that. I was like, "Wow, God, you are so faithful." We got gun with one of the kids got smashed over the head with a gun, but I mean, we didn't get hurt.
So he did. So they did attack the. How old was the
They
kid?
didn't attack, but they were trying to take money and trying to run off with it.
Okay, so oh my gosh.
But no one got
Oh.
hurt.
But
It's,
still,
just battered around a little bit, but no one got bruises.
Okay.
And so I was like, "Oh Lord, thank you." So
What
we
they
were.
did, they left you. They left you stranded somewhere. Or
They
what?
left us in the middle of the road. They took off in another car and went off, and we were all scared. So we're just staying there and waiting.
Thank you,
man.
thank you,
Thanks,
Van.
thanks.
Pass me one too.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But
told
that
you
is
the-
amazing.
Oh my God.
His faithfulness, his confirmation.
But see, that's not the end of the story. See, that's just the beginning of the story, in the sense that I know we don't have a lot of time,
But,
but
you're coming
No.
back for
Look-
part two.
For really short, long story short, all the kids that second week, all the college kids, they were much more faithful in doing VBS because now the songs meant something real to them.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then
And they took all your money, so financially,
we'll skip that part, but we'll some other time. But what happened is all those kids came back this past year.
wow.
So
You would
these were
think
little kids. How old
they're
were
college.
the kids?
They're
They were
all
college
college,
kids,
yeah.
but still, I mean, they
Yeah.
were close to losing
af-
their lives, and they
after
came back
going
again.
through something like that.
Yeah.
What a traumatic experience that the faithfulness that God showed them, they went and returned it by coming back the following
Yeah.
year.
And God just showed them, "Oh, I'm real and I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of you."
Well, how did he? I know we're trying to.
Wrap up, but
What happened? How did you get rescued from being in the wilderness?
Oh, well, the end up driving, we just started driving around and sort of trying to figure out, okay, there's a police station. I have no idea because the driver was the missionary, so he knew the back roads. But even he was a little bit disoriented. But we ended up finding a police station, and then
I thought they left you in the field without a car. You still had a car.
we still had the car. They left
Okay.
us with the car, the van.
Okay, but
So,
they
yeah.
took all your belongings and all
Yeah.
the stuff. You
The
got
finance.
pirated. Kind
Yeah,
of.
we could tell other stories about how God was faithful beyond that because we got some stuff back.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
He just keeps showing and confirming and showing that he's in control.
That had to do
Yeah.
something. That had to do something to break you in terms of total release and surrender and letting go. I mean, that had to have just been just not words to it.
Yeah, but see, long story short, that was God just was faithful with that. But beyond that, like bringing Jennifer the week after and the other gal who was late. This year, she's going to lead the mission team.
Wow.
The
That takes a lot of courage.
So well, she wasn't there. She came.
Yeah, but now to go back this year,
Yeah.
after
Hearing
knowing
the
what
story
happened, having
after
that
knowing what
story.
happened.
Yeah.
So Jen's gonna do this.
No, not Jen, but the other gal. The other gal from Northern California who ended up becoming a children's pastor up there, and her church is up there. I could still go on forever, but
Yeah, because then it goes into the story how you went and asked this girl to go on the mission trip, but really didn't talk to her pastor.
Yeah.
So you went and spoke to him and
Yeah.
made amends to him, saying,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm sorry that I kind of didn't really ask you. And that pastor came on board with you
Yes.
and said, why don't we do that at our church because of your faithfulness?
Yes.
Oh, this is what's really touching me is I'm looking at you two men, a martial arts teacher, and how God put this together, knowing that later on He was going to open up a door for you to be a radio host, your former student, to come and give this incredible testimony of God's faithfulness to a life that was not surrendered, the healing of your father.
Yeah.
I'm just overwhelmed.
It really is.
It has to be a part two. I mean,
I wanna-
we didn't get to
yeah.
Thailand.
We didn't-
I told
we
you we
didn't-
wouldn't, but I mean,
I want to thank you for coming on the
Thank
show,
you.
Pastor
Yes.
Cho. Thank you for your
Oh.
faithfulness. Thank you for being a part of my life, a part of our lives now.
yes.
But just really even being in this chair today and stepping out in faith, that's something you never thought you'd want to do, just like you didn't want to be in Kenya, but you obey. And I think the listeners out there and the viewers out there, I hope you
Maybe
can
he
feel what we're feeling when you do step out in faith, when you do step one foot in front of the other. And
Maybe he can tell quickly the audience, real quick, what you need. The prayers for your church. Looking,
Prayers.
what
Just
you need.
that's not just words that I'm sharing with you. It's our lives that we learn how to say, okay, God, what are you saying to us? And let me take that one step. Even though how hard or simple it may seem, just do that one step and see how He is faithful to us. And I think that's where I want our church to be.
I think with people people like you on board, I think it will. I think God has shown you time and time again and is continue to showing you, even through the support group that you even brought here just
Yes,
today.
Sue and Jen.
It shows that you're stepping out in faith.
And do you love Africa now?
Absolutely.
Oh my
I want to
God.
thank you again, Pastor Cho, for coming on. Thank you for being a part of my
Thank you.
life. And as our guests come on the show here, ladies and gentlemen, they minister to not only to you guys out there as viewers and audience and listeners, but they minister to us. They minister to Lolita, to myself, to Van, and to the people just being in this presence because we need it.
Do we have time to ask him what joy in our hearts means?
We're actually out of time.
Are we?
We're going to have you come back because we usually ask our guests what joy in our house means. But I can see that you have a lot of that joy. Even through your trials and tribulations, you have a great smile. You have a great positive attitude towards just life in general. But I think it's because of the foundation of Christ that's in your life. I know it is for me. Even through our troubles and challenges, So I want to thank you guys out there for listening and viewing on Super Bowl Sunday. I think Pastor said something where I hope that you guys have a great Super Bowl, not just watching it, but in your lives.
That's it. Super Bowl in Christ.
Yes.
Super Bowl in Christ.
Amen.
In your faith.
So we want to thank you again for joining us. Please follow us and stay tuned with us for our next show next Sunday here on LA Talk Live. This is Joy in My House, where we're going to have a great author, Anne from Skin Deep, where she's going to talk about her attack in Irvine, California, and how she survived her attack and recovering. Join us next week. You're not going to want to miss. This is Joy in My
And
House,
it's
ladies
good to
and
see
gentlemen.
you guys. Missed you. Bye.
Have a great Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll see you next week. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. Be blessed.